Hey girls!
Welcome back to another episode of Pretty Girl Be Healed, where we stream every Friday at 9 p.m. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode. We are season 2, episode 2, where tonight we will be discussing the consequence of compromise, which is such a loaded topic. So share this live tonight with anybody that needs to hear from us, that needs to just hear what the consequences of compromise are, and tag all your friends below as we dig to the root of the compromise. Here tonight, we have none other than the chef, the executor herself, Amanda, the owner of Crafted by Design. Hi. And she will be joining us tonight for a very thought-provoking topic that's much needed, right? Because we know part of our journey here on Pretty Girl Be Healed is to dig to the root. So that's what we're going to do. So sorry if we step on some toes, but matter of fact, we're not even apologizing tonight. Prepare for us to step on toes, even our own toes, as we dig to the root of why we should not compromise.
Yes. Y'all give me 2 seconds because my phone is not getting sick and I want to make sure I share this. But so we came up with this topic talking about the recent TikTok series that were super, super popular. It was Risa Tisa, and y'all don't get me if I pronounce her name wrong. Risa Tisa, she had the 50-part series about who did she marry. And then there was another one, her name was Jill something. But at either rate, as I was watching both of those stories, the common theme in both of them was compromise. And they stated very, very clearly in their stories that they wanted to get married. They both actually are God-fearing women. They both stated that they wanted to get married, but they was tired of waiting for God. So they compromised. And they literally said they compromised in their desire to get married. So that's kind of what this conversation spurred from. Compromise obviously just isn't in a romantic relationship. It could be a friendship. It could be a career. It could be even your identity. It can stem in so many places. So I'm just so excited for us to explore this topic today. And my girl over here, she has the definition of compromise.
Yeah, you know, when we were talking about it prior to us going live, we were talking a lot about just what compromise is, right? So we were talking, and I was doing my little research as I do anytime we come on for Pretty Girl Be Healed. And it wasn't compromise that got me. Though I did read the definition, part of the definition was talking about a concession. And of course, you know, if you know I'm analytical, I had to go a little deeper, right, to truly understand what concession means. And I found myself at the word concede. And I'm going to read the definition of it because I think it's really interesting. It says, to admit, I'm trying to get it together. It says, admit that something is true or valid after first denying or resisting it. And I thought that was so powerful because that's really what we do in compromise.
Yeah.
You know, in compromise, innately, we know that the decision that we are about to make is anti who we truly are. Yet because we have resulted to the place of compromise, we will deny the truth and believe the lie.
Yeah.
You know, we will deny, you know, the truest form of ourselves and take on this facade that's not really us, but we call it us because that's what we want to show the world, or that's what we want to be portrayed as, when it's really not us.
Yeah.
It's really not us.
Yeah. And what's interesting, going back to those stories, is the men who they were with, both of them exhibited red flags. And when you talked about conceding, all I could think about was coming into agreement with. And they saw all these red flags with these men. I'm talking about blaring red flags. Like, they knew that they were literally bold-faced lying, and they said, but you know what? He paying my bills, and I ain't never had to worry about paying my bills before, so I'm just going to accept it. And they literally said, I'm just going to accept it because he's doing XYZ for me. So I think what's important as we delve into this conversation is literally you are ignoring what you see that is something that's negative, to something that's bad, that's a red flag. You see it, but then you come into agreement with it. And I think that's the worst part about it, is coming into agreement with it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. As you guys were speaking, 2 words came to my mind. And the first one was being content. Were you more content in the the other side of it is the loneliness. It's your contentment versus the lonely aspect of it.
Yeah.
And it's the contentment, the loneliness, and the fear when you're dealing with your job or
Yeah.
like relationships. It's that fear of being by yourself. So if I make this decision to leave over here, where does that leave me? So you weren't content in waiting on God. You were more focused on what you thought looked good on the other side, or those things that was happening around you to join in the masses.
Yeah.
And the Bible says, you can be in the world, but not of the world.
Right.
So it's just, you have to shift your mindset. Like, like you said, when you open, like they didn't want to wait on God.
Yeah.
They actually went before him. And because they went before him, this is your result of it. This is your consequence of your compromise.
Yeah.
Coming out of your contentment of being who you are.
Yeah.
Back to the identity, which you spoke about in the beginning as well.
That's good, because how many times do we do that? And not even just in relationships. Like, I'm thinking of how many times have we decided, oh, I'm not going to birth the business. I'm going to go over here.
Yeah.
How many times have we said, oh, I'm not going to explore who I really am because who I want to be is this person that I show everybody.
Yeah. Right.
How many times have we laid aside the things that we're really supposed to do? Have we ignored them? We know, and we know, I can say I've been there where that, you're coming to the end of this job, but because you're complacent, the money's good, it's comfortable, you know what to expect, you know what to do, your day to day. You find yourself saying, if hearing the call, filling the pool to be like, I can run this company with my eyes closed, but you've grown content and conceding.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're called to something more, knowing that you're called to something greater, knowing that there is more in you, but you settle. And I think that's where where the compromise comes in is that we have adopted the mindset of settling than pushing forward to what we really need to be doing.
Yeah. I would say that this is especially a lesson that I'm learning right now, and I'm laughing because, woo, child, God has been dealing with me. So I'm trying to think if I'm sharing. That's why I'm hesitating. All right, but I'm gonna tell it. So I am looking to buy a house, right? And y'all, there's nothing wrong with the house I got. And I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with the neighborhood. I'm comfortable with the school that my children are in, and it's familiar. I know, what stores to go to. I can hop right there on the highway. In a lot of ways, it's just comfortable. But God said that I'm supposed to have more. So I got into this place where I got paralyzed because I'm like, Lord, you're telling me more, but I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where my kids gonna go to school. I'm an entrepreneur now, so is the money going to keep going on in? And it's funny when we talk about compromise, because I believe that it's synonymous with your level of faith, because a lot of times we will be willing to compromise because literally we lack the faith. So I'm I'm laughing at our producer over here.
She in the back like,
yes, because we literally lack the faith. So yes, I would say that a cure to compromise is heightening your faith.
Because consider the consequence. The consequence is you miss out on everything.
Exactly.
Like, you can miss it. Can I say that I've been in seasons where I've missed it?
Yeah.
Because I decided that I was going to do it Nakaya's way.
Yeah.
Because Nakaya's way was applying to the jobs, knowing that I'm overqualified, like, and not even from a haughty place, but knowing what I can contribute to a company, knowing that what I'm supposed to contribute is to my own. But because I didn't want to do it, let's call it out. Like, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like doing it. I was like, I'm going to just stay here. I'm going to just keep going, moving up the ranks or trying different things, and you find yourself in these places where you miss it. And that's the consequence of not truly believing in yourself, truly not believing in the capabilities that you were given, truly not believing in the vision that was set before you. So you decide that it's almost like you being, you're, what's the word? You're surrendering your right to give birth. You're surrendering your right to, to grow, to develop, to mature into the businesswoman, the entrepreneur, the homeowner, you keep filling in the blanks that you were supposed to be because you're complacent you and in that mindset, you're okay with missing it.
Yeah.
Which is the
You
red flag
literally,
within
yes,
itself.
Yeah, you
yes.
kind of get secure in that spot. Like you build a security around falsehood. You build a
Yep.
security around what was never promised to you, what was never given to you. You secure yourself to the low level, like you said, settling. But
Yes.
it's like you're secure
Liminal.
there, and you limit your scope of your thinking. You limit, how far you're going to walk. You limit those restrictions of who is even attached
Yeah.
when you actually come out of that to actually move forward. So that's one of the things they have to break. Is the uncomfortability is being secure in a level that you were never even called to be. It's like you settle for below basic.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you were proficient and you need to go higher, you need to keep moving, you need to keep soaring. But because of the fear, or, when I take that step to actually look for the next house, or if I take that step to look for the job, that security, the time that I put in here, now I gotta start all over again. But it's really not starting all over again. It's you gotta take a step back to be propelled forward.
Yeah.
And it's that
That's
trust.
good.
It's that
That's
trust
good.
level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going
You know what makes me mad? I'm gonna say this real quick and I'm gonna
Yeah.
shut up. You know what makes me mad? As we're talking, my brain is going back.
Yeah.
And it's going back to those moments. And I started to get mad for a second because in that we chose to believe a lie.
Yeah.
And it's not a lie that somebody told us.
Yeah.
It's one we believe, we made
Yeah.
up and believe for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the self-assessment. You're
Yeah.
right.
So when you said take a step back, and I've shared this before on the podcast with my previous job, and I always, I'm honest when I talk about my journey with entrepreneurship because how people say I took the leap. No, sis, I stumbled into it.
Right.
Really, I was pushed into it. But when Amanda was talking about taking a step back, I think that we in situations of compromise, we have to be willing to pivot when God tells us to pivot. And when I think about that, before I started my business, I was in a role which I really felt like was my dream job. I always dreamed to be able to travel, to have all the perks, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. And then once I got into it, it was really, really stressful. And it was really, really different because I was now newly a single mom and, traveling all the time with 2 kids is just, a lot of times was impossible. So, God was telling me to pivot. He was telling me to take off of work. He was clearly telling me to do it, and I would not do it. And then I got to a point, you know how that says it's going to be God, it's going to be God. Listen, either you do it
Or you do it.
or you do it, right?
Exactly.
So I wound up getting to a point that I was so stressed out that I wound up having to come out of work. And I love how God works because in that space of me coming out on leave, because it was a stress leave. I'm keeping 100. It was a stress leave, but in that space of stepping away, it was like being broken from a bondage, like coming out of prison. And I remember it being so freeing. And after the first 2 weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, why haven't I done this earlier? But I remember the anxiety attached to thinking about separating.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the lie. I almost felt like I was failing because I could no longer do it. But really it was a lie. And that could get into like conversations about rest and all those things, but it's so important, these lies that we tell ourselves when it comes to compromise. Like even in the vein of relationships, and I'll say this and I'll be quiet. We say, oh, I have to be married by 25.
Yeah.
I have to have kids by this age.
Yeah.
I have to be in this role. I need to have a house by this time. I need to be in this neighborhood. And the funny thing is, even going back to what I thought was my dream job, we had to let go of I and allow God to move in because I could have never, I'm telling y'all, I could have never imagined the life that I have now based on I.
Yeah.
So I think it's just letting go of the notion of I.
You know what's funny? I was like, as you were talking, I went back to memory lane again. I'm like, y'all gonna stop taking me back, I promise. But what I found interesting, even in my moments of compromise, I spent a lot of time climbing the corporate ladder for quite some time. And now that I look back, I'm like, dang, like, now that I call myself the blooming entrepreneur, because I'm literally tiptoeing on the waters. However, I found myself looking back to the corporate world, and I found my identity in that compromise.
Yes.
I found my identity in climbing the corporate ladder, and I based my identity upon the successes of the promotions, the successes of the money, the success of the status, building my team and all of those things. And that was my compromise.
Yeah.
Like, never mind anything else I was supposed to do. And this is the one lane, and I'm going to retire from this job. I'm going to spend the next 20 years here, and I'm going to have a crazy pension, and I'm going to just live my life and raise my kids. When literally every promotion, every pay raise, every accolade became my identity. Instead of me being who I was supposed to be all along, I found success. I felt accomplished, and I clung to those achievements to the point that when they were taken, because I heard, that I needed to leave. I understood, but because every time I was supposed to leave, here comes another promotion, and it's like, well, because this is where my identity lies, I chased the promotion instead of doing what I was supposed to do. So when it was ripped from underneath me, here I am on Ativan, taking time for work, having panic attacks about what my next was, because everything that I thought I was invested in that job.
Yeah. That's so good. I'm gonna say this really, really quickly. You begin to your worth begins to be attached to how well you can perform. And then when you can't perform, now you feel like a failure. Because when I went out for work, I went out for severe anxiety and depression. And really it was because so in my case, I was promoted. And then I got to a point where I could not give the level of whatever they needed to get promoted to the next level. So then now I'm in this place where I just feel like literally nothing. Because when your identity is tied to the world, but your identity is tied to some company that really is just going to replace you once you leave, you feel like nothing. You feel like less than nothing, and then that feeling of failure just starts to catapult in the rest of your life.
It's the facade versus for real. Or what's real.
Yeah, and oh God, this is heavy. This is going to be heavy for who is watching and who's going to watch on the replay, because one thing that is not talked about, which is actually defined in your compromise, is the cost. So as you were speaking, it's like when you spoke about like the promotion and the pay raise, and you found your identity in these things, it cost you the trueness of what you were supposed to, what you were actually born to do. So every time that we listen to the lie, we entertain the lie, it is costing us that step forward to actually just be. Just be who God has called you to be in the room that he has ordained you to be in. Like there is a cost to compromise. You lose your identity, and it's actually what I have literally been brought out of this morning. And because I've compromised, I literally compromised this week. Emotions get the best of you, and that's one of the things that we have to actually come out of, and not let emotions dictate our moves, dictate even who we communicate with about the things that we're going through. But it does cost. It costs you your peace. It costs you your joy. It will cost you your family. It will just cost you your sanity. It causes mental breakdown, and then you try to wonder why is my body going through this? Why am I here? Like, why all of a sudden I can't get out of the bed for 3 days? Compromise will cost you literally your life.
You know what's funny? I'm gonna say this real quick line, but it's so powerful, because when I tell you it checked my mindset. I was watching a video, and this is a platform where they interview millionaires, billionaires, 8, 9, 10-figure incomes. And the guy often asks a question about how would you, what encouragement or advice would you give to someone that's trying to be where you are? And this gentleman, one particular millionaire, billionaire, whichever he was, he said that now is the most expensive word in the dictionary. And it literally, I was like rattled, because even in the place of compromise, we want what's now or what's in front of us now instead of waiting for what's next.
Yeah.
You know, we see the you know, the silver shiny coin in front of us, not understanding that, you know, if we wait a little bit longer, you know, that colloquial pot of gold is coming. But because we see this one little shiny coin now, we're willing to take or accept that now instead of really waiting out, you know, waiting out that time, waiting out till we get to that place of arrival. Whatever. And arrival is only another level, another level, another level. So you've never really arrived, but that place of arrival at the level that you are right now.
Yeah, and I think that's good. What's the thing that you want to obtain? What's the end goal? And I think about when I was thinking about the conversation of compromise, I was thinking about the previous ministry that I was a part of, and the reason why it was a compromise is because I knew that I wasn't supposed to be there. However, the shiny thing that I wanted to obtain was family. It felt like a family. It felt like you know, friendship, even though I knew like something was off. And I think that, you know, once we're presented with like the word, right, or presented with like the Lord saying, sis, it's time for you to go, or daughter, not sis, because he ain't gonna say it. Daughter, it's time for you to go. You got to go. And you know, you were talking about the cost, the consequence of being in a circle or being, whether it's a ministry, because it's some of y'all out there who are part of a ministry that God is telling you to leave. There's some of you that where you have friends and God is telling you to leave that friend group. I'm telling you, when you are having an identity crisis, oh my God, it is one of the toughest journeys to go through. When you literally do not know who you are and you literally have to unlearn all of the lies so that you can come into the truth. So I would say, you know, just do it as soon as you can. Get that process started as soon as you can.
Or even for the one that's sitting in a ministry and you know you have a place, but you found your place to be in a seat. Like I'm talking to the one that has the ability to do more, but you've compromised because of church hurt, because of church traumas, because of whatever it is, fill in the blank. You know, there is more that you can do, but understand that compromise always doesn't look like, you know, doing something else instead of doing another thing. It could also be doing nothing at all. You know, when you know that you could do more, but you're choosing not to because you've compromised, because oh, my voice isn't powerful enough. I don't pray like this one. I don't teach like that one. That's a compromise too, because you still have something to offer, but you've chosen not to submit that offering because you found yourself in this.
Wow.
Yeah, I think a lot of people find themselves there, and you have to look past the comparison, because I think that's another reason why a lot of people compromise is because of comparison. And one of the questions that came to my mind is that why do people find waiting so painful? Like, why is that? Somebody says, oh, just wait, be still. Why is that like a trauma thing for some people when it's a process? Everything is a process. Everything is a journey. And though it may not look like what you want it to look like right now, waiting is so much better. Like waiting, being patient, being still is so much is better. And he says, I chastise those who I love. So I'm not beating down on you. I'm not sending things that is hurtful to you. I'm just trying to show you a different level of love. I'm trying to show you where I'm trying to bring you to and what I'm trying to get you out of. And that compromise is like the worldly version or vision of the opposite of what God is trying to reveal. So it's that facade that like a mirage, just like a mirage.
And I think a lot of it, you know, even as you were talking about the world, is really because we live in a popcorn society, and we live in a society really where it's this facades. You know, you see this person and that person with a nice house and the perfect marriage and the perfect kids and this and this and that and that, when really God is doing a thing in us so that when we get the thing, we have the thing. And the thing is good. Because a lot of times these souls get the thing, but the thing behind the scenes ain't good.
But that's compromise too. That's compromise too, because here's the reality. We look on Instagram because, we got this never-ending scroll.
Child.
Yeah.
We scrolling for hours and hours and hours. I'm guilty. However, you find, oh, such and such got a new house.
Yep.
Oh, such and such got the newest car. Oh, such and such has got a $1 billion bank account. What you don't see is that the house is in foreclosure.
Yep.
What you don't see is the car's being repoed.
Yep.
What you don't see is that, oh, we got this cute marriage on Instagram, but the house is in shambles for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
But that's a compromise too. You're willing to put on this facade like everything is perfect when in reality there is work to be done.
It is.
Yeah, and you know what? Two things that I want to say real quick. One, I saw one influencer who exposed this, but she was showing that a lot of the influencers, they will shoot their things in like a store. So it looks like they're in this fancy room or something.
Yep.
I wouldn't see, y'all, that's a level of debauchery. Like,
Okay.
I don't even think that way. Like,
Wow.
Listen.
like she what's her name? Lex on TV, Lexi TV.
Oh, girl, you know how I know.
She did a satire on it, and she was in a store, and the price tags was on the stuff. So, but I was like, wow, that's actually very creative. You live in a shanty, a shack, so you gonna go to the IKEA, but you know how IKEA be having their room set up though.
True story.
It already set up
I
though.
give it to you. That's a $1 billion idea because I'd have never, I'd have never thought. Never thought. But you're right.
Yes. And then while we're on the topic of compromise, the other thing that I've been seeing, and this really, really ticks me off, and I always send these to the Kai, is when the Christian influencers, they say something and it's not biblical. That drives me. See, and then I'll see something and I'll follow them to clip. Nope, that ain't Bible. Or I'll comment, the Lord is working on it, or I'll comment.
I ain't saying the comment. I can't go back and forth with you.
Yes, but they'll be doing really, really good, and then they come out with something new age or something that's literally not biblically based. So that's something else to watch out for, because even when it comes to the folks who are in ministries, and some of the ministries is not the truth. And a half truth is a full lie. Yeah. That's one thing that the Lord showed me as I was walking out of my last ministry, and just walking fully in the truth of just what the truth is. The truth is the truth, and it's only the truth. But when it comes to compromise, you have to be grounded in the truth, and you have to know what the truth is. So if you are a woman who's looking to get married, what's a proverbial woman, right? What is a man of valor? What does God say about marriage? Like, it's important for you to know these things if you're trying to do the things, even when it comes to business. The Bible talks about business. When it comes to, all the things is in here.
Proverbs 31 was an entrepreneur.
Listen, even if y'all looking for some romance, listen, I was listening to, so I'm going on top of y'all. Everything that you need is in the Bible. I was listening to Song of Solomon yesterday. Y'all want some romance? I'm telling y'all.
Yeah, that's a whole romantic novel.
Right.
Listen.
But you gotta be you have to be in the right state of mind.
Yes.
To interpret the Song of Solomon, because you might go a whole other route. And that ain't what they were talking about. Right. So
but listen,
you gotta be very mature.
But God, he got bars.
He do.
He do.
You were serenaded.
Listen, Proverbs and the book of Ecclesiastes. What? I was like, God, you got bars. You the greatest rapper to ever live. Anyway, back to conversation.
But no, I think you bring up a good point, because I love what you said about you have to know what's true to live the truth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the reason, and I think that's so powerful, because I'm gonna reference a movie, and for those that may have watched it, you understand. Eat, Pray, Love is probably one of my favorite movies. Which probably like, what in the world are you talking about? But there was Taylor don't start.
Come on.
Taylor don't start. Not today.
We about to take your girl night card. It's revoked.
But the one thing I love about Eat, Pray, Love is that it's the part where she had already gone through the process of divorce with her husband, and she's dating this guy, the actor guy, and her Viola Davis's husband that plays in the film, he was like, oh, you know, he said, it's funny, when you were married to such and such, you look like such and such. And now that you're dating him, you look like him. And then if you fast forward into the play, he talks about the permeable membrane.
Yes.
And I love that. Like, I'm such a nerd, right? But I honed in on that statement because if we're not careful to know the truth, to walk in the truth, you literally become the permeable membrane.
Yeah.
And if for those that don't know what the permeable membrane was, it's literally that. Like, you're walking out, you know, or not even walking out, you're becoming what's around you.
Yeah.
Which is why social media is so addictive. And now, you know, you're influenced, and I fall short of it. You know, you're on TikTok and they in Marshalls buying the newest skincare, and I'm in there trying to see what it is. like legit. Like, but you become, if you're not careful to know the difference and to truly know who you are,
Right.
you adapt to the things around you. You become the
Yeah.
permeable membrane to your environment instead of being the difference, being the change agent, being the standard setter, being the
goodness.
standard bearer. You literally you literally adopt and adapt to what's going on around you, and nobody's the difference. The Bible says that we're the city set on the hill. But
Yes.
how can we be the city set on the hill when all the hills look the same?
Yes.
Like a chameleon.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
It
like
looks
a
the
chameleon.
same.
You so busy blending into the scenery that nobody can see you standing
Yes.
out from
Yes.
anybody else that is around
Yes.
you. That's
Yes.
exactly. But the thing about a chameleon, he does that to hide from its prey.
Yes.
You're
Right.
doing that to be
hide
noticed
from
and
you.
to be exactly and
You
to
hide
blend
from
in
you.
with the form of society and what you think that they're saying about you. Like, you just got to come out from among that mindset.
Yeah.
And it's like, I went through that stage back at my old church years ago, that I thought I had to walk like they walked and talk like they talk. And if my parents were a certain
good.
title inside of a church, then I would be known. And it wasn't until my mother said, like, who are you?
Yeah.
Because you picked up that person's laugh.
Yeah.
I don't even
Ooh.
know what your laugh sounds
Ooh.
like.
Come
I don't
on.
even know what your smile looks like anymore. Like, it was just, I didn't get it until I became a mom, until
Yes.
I had kids. And, you know, in the situation that I am being, that I'm breaking through, like, right now, it's just like really discovering who you are and being okay with who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
And knowing that it is, when you come from amongst all of that, you'll shine brighter.
Yes. So I think about a conversation that I had with one of the elders of my church, and we were just talking about. We was talking about past ministries and our journey to now. And one of the things that she said to me, and I remember this, it was so freeing to me because I could resonate with it so greatly. She said that she would never wear the church uniform again.
That's good.
And when I thought about this, a lot of my dress, because I love fashion, but then a lot of my dress and my appearance, and like you were speaking, the way you talked, the way I prayed, the way I worship was predicated on how I saw everybody else was doing it. So I remember looking at it. I remember looking at my closet one day, and I was like, it just looked like it was a stranger's closet. I'm like, this is not me. So when she said the church uniform, literally I was wearing what I thought would be acceptable to someone else, not the identity that God gave to me, not the things that He put into me so that I would stand out. But literally I was dressing to stand in. I had a costume on. And when she said the church costume, I'm telling you how free it was. And when I tell you, I got rid of all that stuff. All of it is gone. And now, and now, you know, as we talk about, like, how do you get from that place of compromise to uncompromising? Really, for me, it was just simply asking God to dress me, asking God what prayer looked like, what worship looked like. And now it's so funny because people be like, oh, Kwana, you look so cute, whatever. And it's so funny because literally, it's literally what God tells me to do. It's not any effort that like I was putting in to put this costume on. If you think about how people put like the monster costume makeup on, and it takes them hours and hours and hours to do it. Literally, as I walked into how God ordained me to be, it's simple. It just happens.
Yeah, I think I don't even want to say it because we're about to step on toes, but it's what
Let's
we do.
go.
We dig to the root. When you said, how do we go from the place of compromise to who you really are? It's really about transforming your mind.
Yeah.
Because as you're saying it, I literally could hear, you know, what will I see when I look upon you? You know, will I see who you were created to be, or will I see the facade that you've dressed up
The mask.
and called you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, consider it from the Father's vantage point. When he looks down to see his creation, will he see what he created,
Yeah.
or will he see what you created?
Yeah.
And I think that that's how you come out from the place of compromise,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that you can no longer perform for your environment.
Yeah.
You can no longer perform for the people that are around you, but you have, at some point, you know, and believer or unbeliever, you're going to take this route.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to go before the Father. And is he going to see who he called?
Or something else.
Or somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when you adopt that mindset and you begin to truly be like, oh snap, let me get it together, because if it corrected my vision, I no longer chase the promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm like, they're like, oh, we got a new position for you. Who all gonna be there? Who is fun? Like, because I understood that I was more than what I could offer a company.
Yeah.
You know, I was more than, you know, even just the successes, the accomplishments.
Yeah.
You know, I even think I journey back a little bit further to even high school, every honor roll, dean's list, you know, 4.0, all of those things literally defined me, so that when
Yeah.
I didn't do as well, here comes the failure, and I'm
Yeah.
beating myself up,
Yeah.
and I'm shamed, and I'm angry. But it's because I put all of those things, all of those accolades, accomplishments into a box, and I put Nikaya's
Yep.
name on it.
Yep.
You know, instead of, yes, those were attributes, and they were great attributes, but it wasn't who I was eternally, you know, on the internal side.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that part of walking away from the place of compromise to who you're really called to be is to check your vantage point.
Yeah.
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 Are you looking from here, or are you looking from here? Because
Yeah.
it makes a huge difference knowing that you don't have to perform.
Yeah.
It is completely okay to be who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good, because when you said that, the first thing that came to me was we were created in His image, and then after that it was I fashioned and formed
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
before you were in your mother's room, and then it was like you are fearfully and wonderfully made. So these are all the affirmations that He has already instilled in
Yeah.
us, but we choose to seek out the things of the world because it makes us feel good. It fills a void that wasn't filled when we were like younger.
Yeah.
Like whatever was missing, if it
Yeah.
was a trauma, if it was hurt or was pain, it's like we're trying to get these things from the world to fill it. But like you said, like whose vantage point are you looking? God's, yours, or what the world is projecting
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
you to
Yeah.
see? Because we look at everybody trying to wear the clothes that everybody is wearing. I don't apologize. Alter their bodies to look like everybody else's
Yeah.
BBLs,
bodies, and then you
CBL,
laid up in a
DBL,
hospital
EBL.
trying to get your whole life right. Well, guess what? That's not how He fashioned and formed
Yeah.
you. And I think it's very important that, like you said, seek the source.
Yeah.
If you want to know how you are supposed to look, ask God, like, what do you see when you
Yeah.
see me?
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I had to do, because I went through a phase where it's like, I don't even like what I look like in a mirror. And it was like, oh, so you don't like what I created? And I'm like, wait, I ain't say all
I ain't
that.
said that.
But I'm just saying. But He was like, no, that's exactly what you're saying. When you say that you don't like this about you, or when you don't like that, is you're saying that you don't like what I
Yeah.
created. So seek me,
Yeah.
and then I'll give you the answers. And then it was like, oh, the other little things I can work on them.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
not them. That's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seek the Father first, and He will really tell you.
Yes, that's so good. When I heard both of you speaking, I heard introspect. And to connect that back to the word says, he that is within me is greater than he that is within the world. When I think about my time when I was in therapy, when I came away from work, one of the things that I did for the first time in my life was in therapy, and it really made me address self. Right, because when we encounter some of these things where we compromise, right, we look at the situation and say, "Oh, this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened, and I'm the victim," right? But now, what's happened, or what is happening with you, or what is going on with your mindset that you allowed X, Y, Z to happen? What is going on with your mindset that you stayed in that place? And really, I think that as we look inwardly for what God has placed in us, as you guys have talked about, then we will start to get to that place of uncompromise. And a lot of people, refuse to look at self. A lot of people,
curse word.
yes, a lot of people do not want to examine, why do I have these toxic habits? Why am I in these cycles? Because a lot of these compromising situations really be stuff that we see over and over and over and over again. To the point where you already know what's been to happen. It's the same situation, different people, but you continue to go through it. So we all have to be, and if there's anyone out there who is now in a compromising situation, you know that you're compromising, you got to start looking at the cycles, and you have to look inwardly. I don't care what the situation is, you have to look inwardly to start to heal. I'm about to go on another tangent, but I'm gonna stop there.
Say, and it's about accountability too.
Yeah.
Stop pointing a finger at everybody.
Yes.
else. When you do the introspection of yourself, that means that you have to take accountability of the things that you have done, even
Yeah.
the things that you have come in covenant with, the things that you spoke over your life or allowed in your life. It's not like, okay, I'm placing the blame on you because you, and they may have done it, but so what? It don't matter. The introspection is about digging deep to your root,
Yeah.
what is causing you to perform, you to act, or for you to even attract the people that you are attracting. And I think that's a way to step out of compromise when you hold yourself accountable to even the mindset and even the transparency that you are in your life and where you are in the journey and the stages of your growth and your maturity.
Yeah.
But I think accountability is key as well.
Yeah, I think that another addition to the question of how do you come out of a place of compromise is, honestly, I'm about to go to the socials to prove my point, is the Keith Lee effect. What I love about what Keith Lee is doing is one simple thing that he says on his platform every time he reviews a restaurant. And he always shouts out the restaurant, and then he says, I hope you reach your target audience. And I love that. It's never mind everything else he says. I love his videos, but I love when he goes, God bless you, and I pray you reach your target audience. Because moving from the place of the compromise is literally the journey to reaching your target audience, because we all have one. We all have a nation, a people, a group, a demographic that is attached to us. And consider that coming away from the place of compromise means that you will now reach your target audience.
Yeah.
Not the audience that you created, not the audience that you developed, I'm gonna go deeper, not even the audience that's clapping for you while you're winning in your facade, but your target audience, the people that you were truly called to speak to. The only way that you will speak to this target audience is to come out of compromise.
Yeah, that's so good. Let me tell y'all. So the other day I was on, what was I on, Instagram or TikTok, one of them things, and I was like, Kwana, like you high key funny. Like you need to start putting some content out there, right? Because you see these folks, they making them. Listen, the Lord said multiple streams of income, okay? So I'm like, okay, multiple streams of income. Lord, you made me funny, so what we about to do, right? So then I'm looking on Instagram and TikTok, and they had these niche, stay within your niche. And I'm like, Lord, but what's my niche? Am I saying this right? Niche, I'm like, what's my niche? Because I'm a mom, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. Like, it changed from day to day, Lord. Lord, you already know. I don't know. I wake up and I'm like, Lord, what we doing? So I was like, so what's my niche? And even in that, right, I was willing to fit myself in this box, to fit really the category that the system has created versus just being me. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do what you tell me to do, Lord. And that'll be that. Because again, we see these people who have a niche and they are, posting content based on that niche. And they're gaining an audience, but is that my audience?
Right.
Who was a person who also is I like to call them multidextrous. I feel like the Lord has graced me with flexibility in a lot of things. So who am I to box myself into this one thing? Because that's what the algorithm says that I should do.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so good. That's so good. I see a couple of questions in the chat. We're getting there. So if you have any other questions, put them down in the chat. We see them. If you see us looking down, it's because we're following for your questions. And we see your questions. We are getting there, but we definitely got enveloped into the great conversation that we're having. So if you have any other questions, drop them in the chat. I do see that we have one question. And thanks to Taylor, I'm nervous to shout her out now because you was on like, don't shout me out. It's okay. But one of the questions is, how do you recover from the break you took for your mental health? Of course, trust God to supply, but what else?
How did I recover from the break? Y'all, I was living my best life. Let me tell you something. The one thing about God is he does, listen, and I do not say this to sound churchy, but he does all things well. So when I tell you, I was so anxious. First of all, I had never been anxious in my life, y'all. Like, and it's probably sometimes where it would have been good for me to have anxiety because then I would have had some good common sense. I would have had something to say stop. But I have never been anxious in my life. So I'm like, what is this? Like, I had an anxiety attack. I'm thought I'm dying. I'm like, I feel like I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah.
So literally, when I went on this break, I felt like the shackles came off because I was so anxious about leaving this job, right? And then, y'all, I was dead broke. I'm talking about, and I'm about to get real transparent here. Super, super broke. Like, as this happening, just imagine my son flooded the bathroom upstairs. So I had the ceiling of my downstairs is open. I had to pay as I go out of work. And I did wind up getting short-term disability, but as I go out of work, I had to pay the deductible so that this can get fixed. So, like, literally all hell's breaking through my life. I'm broke. I ain't got no money, because now I'm out of work. And suffice this, but when I tell you, God took care of me, y'all. It's one thing about when you broke, everybody want to help you. So I'm telling you, I got all the help. I even went on vacation during that time. I was in the Bahamas. Listen, when I tell y'all, listen, I work now and I ain't been on vacation. So when I tell you, God does all things well. So what I would say with recovery, during that time, it really was just getting realigned because I think a lot of times that we feel hectic is because we're not aligned. And that's not to say that you still won't go through some trials and tribulations, but I know who my father is. And I would have to say that dispensation of time taught me how to fight. Like, I'm telling you, I did not know how to go for broke, as my sister says over here in prayer, how to go for broke in worship. Like, it's levels to this thing. So, because I had to, I literally was fighting for my life. I ain't saying this to be dramatic. I literally was fighting for my life in a dispensation, but it taught me how to fight. So now when certain attacks come, I be like, I rebuke, it's simple because, I've been through much worse than this. So I think, to answer your question, really is just to go deeper. Go deeper in prayer, go deeper in worship. And I even pray that God shows you the how, because when I tell you in that space, I had been praying for these things, but he had to move the distractions out of the way. He had to remove some things out of the way before he could put me in that place where he could show me. But literally, the prayers that I prayed, he showed me every step of the way, and it was very clear that it was him answering the prayer. So my answer simply would be is to go deeper. If you desire prayer, I believe that you're connected to Nakaya or my sister Amanda over here. Or me, any of us can pray for you. But I would say go deeper and continue to go deep.
I think for me, that might have been one of the hardest seasons of my life, because there were a lot of things at that point that I just flat out didn't understand why they were happening. And I think that one way I recovered from the anxiety, because I'm telling y'all, I spent more co-pays, more bills, going to the hospital every other week because the panic attacks were coming. Literally, you were there, left and right. Times I had to drop the kids off, and beeline to sometimes Steph had to come home because I couldn't breathe. I was literally enduring panic at the one after another, moment after moment. And I think that the biggest point of recovery from me was that I stepped out of the driver's seat and got in the passenger seat. I had to relinquish every bit of control and just go for the ride. And looking back or thinking back on it now, you know, I'm grateful. I didn't like how it happened, and I still don't like how it happened. However, I'm grateful for the experience, because when I took myself out of the driver's seat and got in the passenger seat and put on my seatbelt, you know, legit, and put on my seatbelt, I found that not only did the panic attack stop, but it worked for my good.
Yeah.
And here's how it worked for my good. I left that job. I was, like I said, I was in corporate at that time. I was also just starting my master's degree. I had 2 small children. You know, I was working full time. There were the place that I worked was 24 hours. So though I was pretty high up in the career ladder, that only means that every responsibility is your phone call, even at 3 a.m. So I found myself, you know, at a space where I had to understand that it worked for my good. Not only, you know, because I'm thinking like I'm in the place of almost graduating, and I needed an internship. And because I had worked with the company for so long, it was nothing to get my internship hours done, because I could work and then at night do the internship in another department. And so all of these things were predicated upon, again, the success. And I remember now, like, you know, going on the journey and being in that passenger seat with my seatbelt on, because not only did God provide for us financially, but he also, he worked it out in ways that I couldn't see. You know, I was let go from that job in July of 2016. And I'm like, Lord, I'm about to graduate. I need these hours. If I don't have somebody signing off on these thousands of hours that they called me to do before I get this degree, I won't get it. And I didn't come this far to give up. But I found myself like, you know, again, trying not to have an anxiety attack over, trying to stay in the passenger seat. And not only when I stayed in a passenger seat, that things unfolded that I could not have done myself. Not only did I have an internship in time, but that internship became my job. That job, you know, the job went from part-time to full-time. Then I went from full-time to corporate and back up the corporate ladder. So while it may feel like you're at ground zero. It is and Apostle Nate says it all the time. It's ground zero of a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But in order to truly, because it ain't gonna look like that. There were times that I was like, Lord, what is this? Because it's ghetto, and I don't like what I see. But seriously, but in the midst of that, you know, I realized that, like I said, hindsight is always 20/20. So I can look back and be like, wow. Not only did you get me out of that situation that was causing a panic attack, because literally I left that job, and after I got in the passenger seat, it took a couple weeks, but once I got in the passenger seat, there were no more panic attacks. Anxiety was gone. Not another hospital trip. You know, my heart was racing at 130 beats per minute on average, let alone a panic attack. I saw it drop down to the 80s and the 90s. You know, so to land my plane, how do you recover from that place of mental health? You take yourself out of the driver's seat. Because when you were driving, you were headed in a direction that was not working for your good. You get in a passenger seat and you go for the ride. The ride is going to be uncomfortable, but understand who your driver is.
Yeah, because I was going to say everybody's recovery looks different. And the bottom line is that if you listen to everybody's story, because my story, like I had no choice but to walk away from the job. But you get to a place where your hands is off of it. And this is surrendering. So, and that's the key thing to recover effectively and be realigned with God, is knowing that he is leading and that he is guiding, and all things work together for the good. And that's what happened in everybody's story. Like nobody knew what was going on, but you got joy. You found yourself, you know, loving who you are. And that's what comes after the recovery, is that you start walking in true purpose. You start walking in alignment with what God has called you to do. Once you know that you are not in control of it, like you have to take this step back and like, Pastor Nakaya said, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be shaky. It's going to be rocky, but you have to take yourself out of the pilot seat. You have to understand that God is in control and he's working this out for your good. So once you get to that point where it's like, Lord, I'm not sure, but I trust you. I'm going to take my hands off of
Yeah.
it. I'm going to step back because either it's going to be God
Or it's gonna be
it's
God.
going to be God.
Yeah.
So depending on how you want to do it, but just embrace your recovery period.
Yeah.
Even in your vantage point, like your perspective, mindset is everything. I learned that I was a better person when I learned to control the mind or let God control it in that case. And I think that you have to know the difference between setback and setup.
Yes.
Because there's a duality there. We might look at it as a setback, but it's really a setup for the next. And even in moments where we look at it as a setback, understand that when you're doing archery, the bow goes back before it propels forward. So sometimes we might think that it's, we about to lose it all. Jesus, I'm about to be on this boat. I'm finna dive in here. Like that's what it feels like. When really it's just the stretching that's necessary to catapult you to where you really are.
Yeah.
To where you were supposed to be anyway.
Yeah.
Before the compromise.
Yeah.
And that
And you-
season actually helps you to build your capacity
It
for
does.
the next two.
It does. It does. It stretches you. Yeah.
And stretching hurt.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
I'm
does.
in that hole now. I'm fit. Like it's about to be two of me, one over here, one
Right.
over here. But it definitely is necessary. It definitely is something that's a part of it. And consider that sometimes the stretching hurts more because we've compromised.
Yeah.
So because now we've become something that we're not. So we have to go back to ground zero and then build from that. So we gotta work backwards in the deficits and then begin to build upwards.
Yeah.
So I think that's important as well.
Yes. So another question that we got is, how do you determine if you are in a place of compromise? So I would say two things for me and in my experiences. One is that you have no peace. Like you literally have no peace regardless of how, even if you're in a so-called place of comfort, really it doesn't feel like peace. And when I think about it, I think about the previous ministry that I belonged to, and there was no peace. I remember one time specifically, there was this conversation about tribe, and they're like, "Yeah, you are my tribe. You are my tribe." And I'm like, "Y'all ain't my tribe." and I was dealing with these folks on a daily basis, but I knew in my spirit that they weren't my people. And I don't even say that in jest, but I just knew that they weren't my people. But I also didn't know where else. It was comfortable. I didn't know anything else or anything else in the sight. So I would say you would have no peace. And then I would say you will see a cycle. You will see things that happen in your life over and over again, and it ends in something that's not fruitful. I would say, how do you know you compromising? Is it fruitful? Is it fruitful? If it's not producing no fruit, then it's probably 1,000% you're compromising.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Jesus. Lord have mercy. To be transparent, when I said that I'm breaking through, because this week I caught myself in a whole compromising situation because of, honestly, trauma and that contentment over loneliness. It drives certain things, but you really do not have any peace. And when you have a desire for God, that thing is going to weigh on your chest like anything, and you have no choice but to get to a place of repentance, because it really pulls you and tries to anchor you in everything that's opposite of what God has called you to do. So that compromise, it literally shifts you out of God's plan and puts you in a plan of what the enemy wants for you. It shifts you in a position to keep going with the lie. Keep riding the boat of the facade. Keep riding the boat of fakeness. And it does not allow you to be honest with yourself. It doesn't. It lets you, that's okay. I'll be all right. That'll pass. It looks good. It sounds good. It's okay. But when everything starts going the wrong way, and you're like, why is this happening? Because you compromised over here. Why is my kids acting up? Because you compromised over here. Why is everything a little shaky? It compromised. And it's not worth not being able to sleep, not being able to be honest with those around you, because now you gotta lie to yourself to lie to them so they don't figure out what you did to compromise over here. It just really wrecks your peace. It destroys the boat. It really destroys the boat.
I agree. The next question says, can you give some encouragement to the person who was in a place of trying to resist compromise? One of the biggest things, and this is something that is a theme here on Pretty Girl Be Healed, is your counsel.
Yeah.
Because wise counsel is not going to let you be who you're not.
Yeah.
Period. You know, wise counsel, being around people that will not come into agreement with what you're saying, but call you out on what you're not saying.
Yeah.
I think that part of the resistance is being able to let someone else read you like a book. And say, okay, I heard you. Now I really need to hear you.
Yeah,
Then let me tell you what I try to leave therapy outside of Pretty Girl Be Healed, but I am a therapist to the core of me. And I often will, and this happens in every conversation, unfortunately, I listen to what you're saying, but I'm also listening for what you're not saying.
Yeah.
Because what you're not saying is telling me so much more than what will ever part your lips. So I think, to the point, is finding that wise counsel, that person or people that you don't want to call because you have a hard time looking at that person because they really see who you are. And once they see who you are, it's kind of unavoidable to do nothing else but become yourself, because those people, that wise counsel, will not let you compromise. You know, they might have to put you in a place like listen, I hear you, but this ain't that. You know, we're not even going down that road. Shift and pivot this way. But I think that level of wise accountability that can stretch you to the point, to your measure of stretching, is important. Without it, you will slowly compromise, because compromise doesn't always start out grandiose, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't always start out as big. Compromise could look like, I'm choosing not to do this today,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then it's tomorrow, and then it's next week, and then it's the end of 2024, and you still ain't did it. You know, it isn't always, you know, the large box. It's the small thing. It's the, oh, well, she wore pink today, so I'm gonna wear pink today too. You know, it's the, but she wrote a book, so my book don't matter. Compromise. Like, it's compromise, you know, and it starts out in those small thoughts. And so if you have that wise counsel around you to combat that, you're less likely to be cyclic and compromise, because it is the mirror that you can't avoid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, is it worth, I don't know who asked the question, but is it worth holding on to? Even the thought of wanting to, because it's like you're contemplating, if I go to the right or should I go to the left? But what is it worth holding on to something when you know that you're supposed to let go of it? What is it going to cost you to keep holding on? Is it security? Is it comfort? Is the fact that you don't know what's on the other side?
Right.
And is it worth you compromising your identity? Is it worth you compromising taking that step forward? And what I would encourage you to do is, like Pastor Nakaya said, is to seek your wise counsel, but to also do the introspect of why. Why am I even contemplating about compromising what I know I should not be doing for something that just may satisfy me for the moment, to be that temporary fix? Like, is it worth that? Like, is it worth, okay, it may feel good for a moment, but then I'm gonna have to deal with the consequences after I make that decision.
Yeah.
Like, it, just let it go. Like, get to the place and to the people that you can trust, that you know that is not going to run and tell that to the whole entire world, but it's actually going to guide you in the right direction to do what you already know. Because I'm feeling like you already know what you're supposed to do, but it's just not worth it. Get around the right set of people that are going to guide you, direct you, pray over you, and hold you accountable. Like, what did you do today? Did you make that phone call, or did you do what you were supposed to do? Get to the right circle, because that's actually going to help and drive those thoughts out, and stop believing the lie, or not even phantom and contemplate and still give time to the consequence, because it's temporary. It's a temporary fix.
Yeah, and I would say that for anyone who doesn't have people like that in your life, you could ask God to send you a tribe. I remember praying that prayer over and over and over again, because I knew that I wasn't with my tribe. But I also would say to be open to it. A lot of people I've come in contact with so many people who are so nose blind to themselves just because they've been surrounded by yes men all their life. Like literally, you can't even blame them because nobody has had the goal to say to them, "Look, sis, you don't smell like roses," type of thing. So I would say that the Bible says that bad company corrupts character, and really, when you look at your circle, it's so important to have wise counsel. But even when it comes to mindset, if you're looking to grow in your business, you want to be around people who are going to help you grow. You want to be around people who are going to support you, right? In your business, in your relationship, and any of the parenting, whatever it is, you want to have somebody who's actually going to support you, because a lot of times, a lot of people, so many people, myself, I've been through this as well, is people in your circle who secretly hate you. I ain't talking about don't like you, no. Who secretly hate you, right? Who secretly are cursing you and everything that you do behind your back, and you are like just telling them all your business, and they are secretly jealous or secretly envious, or so it's like when it comes to compromise, I'm telling you, your circle matters in everything. Even if you are looking to transition from the world and you want to come into your walk into Christ, it's important for you to be around like-minded people. And I'm not talking about churchy folk. I'm not talking about religious folk, but I'm talking about people who have, because we ain't perfect up here. We ain't perfect.
Before I signed in.
right. Listen, we had to pray, y'all. We had to pray, okay? But it's important to be around like-minded individuals, and the Bible talks about that as well. Because if you're around people who smoke weed all day, guess what you finna do?
Okay.
Smoking it. You think you gonna magically stop?
You're gonna be
no. You're gonna be smoking weed with them.
Mind.
Right. You around people who have poverty mindsets. What you gonna be? You're gonna be poor. Like if you want to break out of compromise, you have to. One of the things is changing your circle, and it might be your boyfriend, it might be your girlfriend, it might. Listen, I ain't gonna go there. I'm gonna be quiet.
So wait, you walk. I'm cracking up. I'm gonna say you walk right through the next question, which it says, "Can you speak to what compromising looks like in a relationship?" And I think it's weighty. We're gonna need another hour to go there. But I would say the compromise in a relationship is difficult to navigate. And here's why. Relationships are give and take.
Yeah.
Any relationship. There are things that are give and take in my relationship with my husband, with my best friend, with my sister-in-law, who y'all may not have known that, but mic drop. But there's give and take in every ship. And we talked about ships last week. Yeah. But there's give and takes. And I think that if in any ship, relationship, situationship, friendship, family ship, all them ships, I think that one of the biggest red flags to compromising in said ship is that you cannot be your authentic self in the room. You just can't. If you find yourself being somebody that you're not, again, being that permeable membrane in an environment where you should be comfortable being your most vulnerable self. If you find that you're hiding, that you're masking, especially in a romantic relationship, if you find yourself masking that vulnerability and you're not able to be extremely vulnerable in front of that person, friend, whatever, consider. I'm not saying that you're compromising, because everything is case specific, right? But consider it, and understand that it's a process, because I wasn't vulnerable in front of my husband for quite some time. That's, for me, vulnerability is a cuss word. Y'all know that. I have learned it. I have grown through it, and it's no longer a cuss word to me. But it took time. So I also think that you need to weigh time as an aspect of that, because that's a learned behavior. Learning to trust that person and learning to grow with that person to become vulnerable takes time. But if you find that after time, you can't be, listen, there are days I call Kawana and I'm undone. I'm a ball of tears. I am screaming. I am angry, and I am a mess. But I trust her in that space because I know she can handle it. There are times where I am a sappy, crying crybaby in front of my husband. But, I know that is a safe space because I know that he is capable and he's build up, to handle it. If you find yourself after time and after process not being able to do that, consider it. Consider the fact that there could be a compromise there.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think you answered it.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was a good conversation.
That was a lot. So we done surpassed the time we normally go, but that's okay because this conversation was meaty
was
and
meaty
weighty,
and
and it might be another one that we have to just do a part 2 on because there's so much more we could go on and on and on and on. But at the end of each episode, one of the new things that we're doing for season 2 is that I call myself the blooming entrepreneur. But we entrepreneurs out here. We got businesses. We got things that we are launching and doing. So I do want to take a few moments just to shout out our businesses. And we're going to start with our guest because, like I said, she is the chef extraordinaire and she does it all. So I'm going to give her a few minutes to speak to her business, and we're going to put the name of her business on the screen as we speak, as she begins to talk about what it is that she does.
Well, of course, I was introduced. My name is Amanda Culler. I am the head chef and the owner of Crafted by Design.
Yes, hey, chef.
Catering, catering company. I do meal preps. I do catering for any type of event. If you need me, you can find me on www.craftedbydesign.net, and I am on Instagram, craftedbydesign_LLC. And my famous dish is egg rolls. Everybody likes egg rolls, so if you need some egg rolls, I am here for meal preps, culinary training. That's what I do.
Yes.
And somebody in here not only got a birthday coming, but also is relaunching something, and we don't have the graphic, but I just need her to speak to it.
Come on.
Yes. So I love fashion, y'all. I love fashion, and I love being a mom. And I think sometimes as we're momming and we're in our comfortable outfits, we don't necessarily, we just be comfy, but we don't be cute. Mm-hmm. So really, momming swag was birthed out of being fashionable. But why you momming? You momming, but you're doing it with swag. So I am relaunching my clothing line, Momming with Swag. It will be launched probably later this month. But super excited about that. So just look out for that. Momming with Swag, Momming with Swag, and then Dadding with Swag will be coming closer to Father's Day as well.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
We got a lot of businesses in the room, so I am excited. Because somebody's birthday is next week, we will not be having a live recording for episode 3. We will be doing something special, and it is scheduled, so stay tuned for updates. Make sure, we haven't been shouting our socials, but make sure that you are following us. We are on Facebook at Pretty Girl Be Healed, obviously. We're also on TikTok at Pretty Girl Be Healed. We are on Instagram, I believe it's _Be Healed. We're all over the place. If you have questions, content ideas, if you want your brand to be featured on our episodes, email us at ask.prettyGirlBeHealed@gmail.com. And don't forget that if you're not able to watch on the lives, Facebook and YouTube are where we go live at. But we also audio stream as well. It's usually uploaded the following day. So by Saturday, you'll be able to find all of our content anywhere that you find your podcast. So make sure you're supporting our brand because here we dig to the root. So we want to thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. And until next time,
bye, pretty girls.